do, I'm actually sharing, this is a little piece of a presentation I'm doing at a Tom Ferry Elite Retreat. If any of you are going there, this is not my whole presentation, but it's just like a small segment of it that I was going to share. And it's basically just to give you some idea of kind of my journey on where I started with Instagram, some of the key points that I used and how it helped me transfer that over into YouTube to turn it into a lead source. Because YouTube was something that I just put on the back burner. I dabbled in here and there, was never consistent, didn't really have a clear focus. And I just decided this last year I want to turn it into a lead source. And right now it's finally starting to snowball and take off where I'm getting I think I'm averaging right now like 15,000 a month in GCI coming in, but it's like it's just starting to grow. So I really think it's going to take off in 2025, and I'm excited about that and wanting to share that with you guys so you can hopefully get inspiration as well. So I'm going to just share my screen for a moment. Oh, sorry. Let me get back into this little beginning part, and then if I hit share, let me see, slideshow. Can y'all see this okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So just a little of my history. I started off in Instagram back in like 2018 or so and thought I was doing pretty good with it. But I wasn't getting business. But I started with Instagram first because I felt like I needed to just start with some social media that I felt comfortable with. And so I always recommend that for people if you're like, what platform should I start with? I just pick whatever you are most comfortable with. So I started with Instagram. At some point, I hired an Instagram coach to give me some advice on like, what am I doing right or wrong? Because I, like I said, I was posting, I was doing all these things and nothing was happening. So I paid her $1,200 to audit my account, which was a lot of money for me at the time because I wasn't making that much. And she basically told me that my page was boring, it was self-centered, I had no personality, and she's like, I wouldn't even know why I would talk to you. Was kind of her basic assessment. And I was like, here's $1,200, thanks. But she was a local Instagram influencer. And so my question to her was, if you discovered my page, would you hire me to be your real estate agent? And that was her honest answer. She's like, no, and once she broke it down though, I was grateful because she helped me see it from a consumer standpoint. So I was mostly just like, just sold, under contract, just listed, whatever, sprinkled in because I was told, okay, you got to do personal stuff. So it was like my dogs, there's a winery we went to, picture of my husband. And so with that perspective, like I could see where it was like a kind of an all about me page. So she gave me some really good advice that's helped me transform it over the years, and it's always a work in progress. I'm kind of in the process of like thinking out my new plan for 2025 because I always like to keep things fresh. But she gave me great advice that helped me at that point to turn Instagram into a big lead source. And so her words that stuck with me, and she said, your page is not about you, it's for your ideal client. And that simple statement, it applies not just to Instagram, it applies for YouTube, it applies to TikTok, it applies to any single platform that you're on social. It's not about you, it's for your ideal client. So if you want to get business from Instagram or YouTube, the first question you have to ask yourself is just, who is your ideal client? If y'all want to take a moment, you can jot that into the chat. Who is your ideal client that you are trying to attract on whatever platform that you're working on?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How specific are you with your ideal client?
I will share mine in just a
Oh,
moment.
that's the, oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Anyone chatting? I don't see words coming in. And you may not have an ideal client. Okay, John's 40 to 60 years old, kids gone to college. Um, awesome. So you're more like the empty nester type of crowd and you're focused on buyers. I love that price point, 750 to a million. Pat is homeowners in her community that want to sell their current home and buy a new one. Love it. Move up buyers, empty nesters. Okay. If you're struggling with who your ideal client is, think about who your perfect client was. Like if you've ever done a transaction and you're just like, my God, this person was amazing. I wish I could have 100 clients just like this person. That could also help. All right, Amber focused on military families. So the cool thing here is you could have a type of buyer, like maybe they're first time buyers, they're military buyers, they're empty nesters. It could also be regional, like I really want to focus on this part of town. It could be a price point. I want to get into luxury. I want to be waterfront, lake homes, whatever it is, that just kind of gives you some inspiration. But the cool thing is you can pick whoever it is. If you're not happy with your clients, create a new client avatar. So for me, my ideal client is a family that's wanting to upsize into their next home in the suburbs near Lake Travis or Dripping Springs, which is just to the west side of Austin. So I do sell some stuff in Austin, but I mostly live like 35, 40 minutes outside to the west. And I would ideally love to stay there and sell those homes. This family is typically in their mid 30s to 40s. They are moving out here because of the school district. They this is not their first home. They probably already own a home that's like 600, 700,000, and they're trying to upsize into a bigger and newer home because their family's growing. And for fun, I took that really detailed description, threw it into ChatGPT, and this is what it came up with. Has anyone been to Lake Travis? This was like to me surprisingly accurate looking. We have the big rolling hills, the lake, except our lake water is down a little bit more, but I'm like, this is actually kind of spot on what this family would look like. So basically, anytime I'm creating a video or a piece of content, I'm thinking of it as being for a family like this. And the cool thing is that I focus a lot more on the buyer side because I feel like home buying is aspirational and it's kind of pretty to show like, here's what you can get. But I'm also getting listings as a side result because it's a higher end price point. It's not, I don't get tons of first time buyers just because our average price point out here is like around 700,000 or so. So they're usually that second home, third home that's coming out this direction. So once you have that client in mind, basically as as a content creator, this helps you kind of find what your niche is. So your niche is kind of who your ideal client is, but it's also like, what are you passionate about? You want to pick something that you can be excited about making videos on. So for me, I have a passion for new construction homes as well. My dad was a builder growing up. I've always lived in a new home, even the one that my parents had, they built it. And I've bought 3 homes in my lifetime. Each one has been like a brand new home. And I'm just surrounded by that. So if I could sell new homes to all these clients, that would be my dream. So think about, not just your market area, but is there something that excites you about it? Maybe you want to focus more on the seller side, maybe you want to focus on the buyer side, but just what makes you happy? That's how you can find your niche that you want to focus on. Makes sense so far? Hopefully this is
Yeah.
helpful. All right. And when I went, like I said, when this Instagram auditor asked me this, I was like, I don't know. I was like, anyone in Austin? I was like very vague. And she really like went through a series of questions. And basically what helped me the most was thinking like, what was my best client experience that I had had. And it was a family that lived kind of in my area that had their third kid. I sold their beautiful home and then we upsized and got them something bigger, and I was like, I love that, because I didn't have to drive. It was that new home feeling and it was double-ended. And that kind of became my avatar. Oh, sorry. Okay. I keep clicking the wrong button and it doesn't advance. So once you have your ideal client in mind, basically as a content creator, you're trying to answer 3 big questions about this client. What do they want? What problems do they face? And then how are you personally solving their problems and bringing value? And so I have just a couple of content ideas first on Instagram, but then I'm going to show you how I also applied that to YouTube. But think about your client in mind as we go through this. Okay. So first thing is, what does your client want? I'm not sure about your client, but mine wants that big fancy new house in the suburbs. So just showing more house tours.
Here's what 1.5 million gets you in Lakeway, Texas. My clients are getting this Prescott floor plan by Weston Homes. It's not this one, but they're actually building this floor plan from scratch around the corner. This home is just under 5,200 square feet with 5 bedrooms, 5.5 baths, and 4 garage spaces.
Okay, I won't play the whole thing because we get what a home tour is, but just leaning in more to what would your client buy and just focusing more on home tours in that price point in that area, you'll start attracting the people that are going to buy those homes. And I can tell you, since I've been focused more, my goal this year is to sell at least 12 luxury properties, which in our area is like over 1 million. And I've never done that. Like the most I've ever sold is maybe 3 or so, but I've just made it a mission. I'm going to try to keep marketing those higher end areas. And so far, I've already gotten 3 that should be transacting really soon or closing. So it's just talk more, like show, hey, here's what you're going to get, show them what they want, and you'll start attracting that. And if you want to see some people who are doing really well, like my page is not all about home tours, but someone to follow is Sam RP, and he's in Boston, and it's all lowercase SAMRP is his Instagram handle. But he started focusing on high-end properties in Boston and now is getting tons of business from it just because he keeps putting out these high-end like $1 million plus property tours. They don't have to be your properties. You can tour other listing agents with their permission, or in my case I do a lot of model homes because we have the new builds and the builders don't care, so I can just go into any neighborhood, and if it's like an inventory or home or whatever, I can just walk through it. Doesn't have to be fancy, like I'm shooting this with my cell phone. And the cool thing is you also didn't even have to put your face on it. I did a webinar last month with Roland Osage, who's crushing it with like faceless home tours. He's just going through and like you see his hand kind of pointing at stuff, but he doesn't show his face. He's just like, this is the coolest house you'll find. And he just shows the inside of the home, but he's getting tons of business from that. All right.
Here's what 1.5.
All right. The second question is just what problems are people facing in this market? So think about like what's holding people back from buying or selling right now. Your market's going to be different than Austin. But here's just a quick example.
Hey, I know it's late, but I had to tell you, you can still get a 5.5% interest rate.
Man, quit playing with me.
I'm not playing.
No, for real, don't play like that.
No, seriously, there's builders around town offering low fixed rates, 30 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
How you know?
because they gave me flyers.
Put that on everything.
I'll update all your searches.
Damn.
So we should check some out this weekend.
I'm gonna call you back.
Why? Hey, no, it says limited time. We gotta move. Hey, Usher?
All right. So that one was just kind of for fun, but hopefully y'all can all relate to that probably being your number one problem this year on why people are not transacting. But definitely, it's been frustrating to, just to see the higher rates sticking around a whole lot longer than what we thought they were going to stick around to. But the more you can just address some of the pain points in the market and give them some positive solutions without being salesy and saying like, it's always a great time to buy real estate. I'm like, it's not. It's been rough, hardcore, like the last couple of years, especially in Austin. So talk about, like this last year, I leaned in heavily into how my clients are getting lower rates now, with new build incentives, how we're discounting prices and negotiating because we have so much inventory, or here's how you can leverage your equity. So, just think about like what are problems and pain points instead of trying to sugarcoat it and be like, it's always great. It's not, but just address some of the problems and show them like there is actual hope and some solutions moving forward. Carmen, I listen to way too much music. She's like, how do you get inspiration for this? I think I found this I stole this idea from someone else, and it was not in real estate. I would say if you want to get creative, my best advice is to kind of explore on the home feed of Instagram, who inspires you. It could be comedian accounts. I follow, just different influencers that I think are funny. And sometimes I will see them do that in a different industry, and then I just relate it back to real estate. And yes, I used CapCut. John is asking. So that was basically, I recorded myself and then I imported the Usher video and made it like an overlay. So I had the two videos stacked on top of each other, and that's how I made it. So, and if anyone wants a tutorial, I'm happy to give you tutorials on how to create some of these things. All right, finally, third question was, how do I solve their problems and bring them value? So, okay, there's solutions in the market, but how do you personally help someone? So here's another inspiration idea.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
Good. So I have good news for you guys.
Okay.
So last week we met with this sweet couple who's moving from California to Dripping Springs to be closer to their daughter and grandchild. They actually found us on our YouTube channel after searching for new construction homes in Dripping Springs and decided to reach out for help. After a Zoom consultation and a few phone calls, we narrowed down their needs and found the best 3 communities that matched them. Then they flew into town for a full day of house hunting. At the end, they fell in love with a new construction home that backs to a Greenbelt and Big Sky Ranch. And even though this home was at a great discount already, we decided to negotiate and offer a little bit less, and this is what happened. So the builder called back. They did not go as low down as the 480, but they came back with 485,990.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it was already a really awesome deal because I mean they already knocked it down 25,000. Then they're paying your closing costs, but we got in another 18,000, and to get the appliances and everything, I think is pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Okay, this is like the best outcome for today.
Yes, yes, to your husband also. Thank you for all these questions and all these lookouts.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So the more you can tell client stories, the better. Because in the past, like I said, when I showed my first Instagram page, I would have probably taken this little screenshot and my caption would have said, "Another happy client in Dripping Springs," but which is going to have a more powerful effect. You know, the more you can tell a story and just show people like how you actually help this client. We got them a huge discount. This home was already slashed. I forgot to mention they also got a 4.99 interest rate. I should have put that. I think I put that in the caption, but they got like a ton of money on this, on this home. And even though this couple's not not technically my ideal client because they weren't like upsizing, these were downsizing. Their story is also going to be more relatable because there could be other families like them wanting to do the same thing that sees this story, or there could be families living in the big giant house for $1.5 million going, man, I wish I could get my parents out here to be closer to the kids and the grandkids. So the more you tell stories instead of like the just sold, just listed, it's going to inspire and motivate people, but it's also going to show people what it's like to work with you and kind of what your personality and process is. So since I've started telling more stories, that's really been like a goal of mine over the last several years. Instagram has become like a huge lead source for referrals. In the last year, we got over 20 referrals from agents that followed me. A lot of them I don't even know. But they're just like, hey, I love your videos and you have like the right personality for my clients, or we know you'll take good care of them. Which means a lot to me because when I hired that auditor, the Instagram influencer that I paid that insulted me, one of her things was like, yeah, you have no personality and I don't know why I would call you. And so having people like, hey, you're the right match for them is amazing to me. So we also get referrals from friends, Sphere. I would say most of my business from Instagram, it's not like getting lots of leads. Like if you lean in more to like the home tours, kind of like Sam RP that I mentioned earlier that he's doing, you'll probably get leads of people asking how much is this house or give me a guide or something like that. Mine is more like relationship based and more kind of referral based, but I would definitely weave storytelling into your content as much as possible. All right, so getting close to talking about YouTube. The other thing that really helped me to have a huge breakthrough, this is kind of where I'm getting into the YouTube part, is my husband and I were our own ideal client. In the last year, we sold our home and upsized into a bigger new construction home. So here we go.
Because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy?
So So we were one of the crazy people that sold a home with it. We actually had 2.25% interest rate, and people were like, "My God, why would you sell it?" But we lived in our home like 9 years. Our home value had almost doubled, and so we were able to sell and just get into a house that better suited our needs now. But I documented over the year in my stories, like all the whole process of getting our own home prepped and staged and like ready to sell. And then the whole process of our watching our new home get built. I would do little update videos. And then I documented like our moving day, everything, all the home, improvement projects that we did after we moved in. And it created like so many conversations online with Instagram, but it also led me to a massive breakthrough on YouTube where I'm like, I figured out what I was doing wrong. So on YouTube, sorry, gosh, I gotta find a way of not clicking on making it play every time it advances. So on YouTube, I still have a baby channel. I still have less than 500 subscribers, and I'm showing you this because it hopefully will encourage you that you don't have to have thousands and thousands of subscribers. I am up against Jeremy Knight. I'm sure y'all have heard the name Jeremy Knight in Austin. He actually lives very close to me, and we kind of share the same market area, but I'm still getting business, even though I have the little baby count and he has like 16,000 plus follower subscribers. So with YouTube, this was something that was kind of an afterthought. I was dabbling in it on and off, did not really take the time to research what I was supposed to be doing with it. And my initial thoughts on YouTube was just, okay, I have to talk longer. So instead of making like 30-second clips, I need to talk like 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. And I was trying to take a lot of the educational stuff I was doing on Instagram and just make it longer, and did not realize at the time, I'm like, okay, duh, this is a search engine. So I was trying to do like educational stuff about like getting your home ready to sell, and like my advice on staging and my advice on like, how to overcome a low appraisal and all this stuff. No one's searching for that kind of junk. They're just not looking for it. So I had to kind of go back and just rethink like, who is my ideal client? And I'm using the same ideal person here. It's someone moving out to the suburbs in the Lake Travis Dripping Springs area, more out in the hill country. And they're looking for that new build because I'm passionate about new construction. So I cleaned up my page. I had been throwing like everything in here. I had listing videos, I had educational stuff. For a while, I was doing even like I tried out the mayor of your town, where I would like go in and interview the pizza owner restaurant, and they hated being interviewed. They didn't want to do that. And so I, kept striking out. So finally, I just was like, let's clean this up. I took all my listing videos out and I made a separate channel that I run ads on. I had been running ads on these things, and it was kind of also hindering my channel's growth. So like a huge thing that I learned also, if you want your account to grow organically and to get business, stop running ads on it, or make a separate channel to do ads, and just make one that you want to grow organically. So I have a listing channel that I will pump ad money behind, and it targets the zip codes in that area. And my sellers like it because they get thousands of views. Sometimes we'll get phone calls, but this channel is specifically organic growth for that move up buyer in the suburbs. So my content buckets, like what do I post each month? My goal is consistently 1 video a week. And it's going to be tours of like the best new construction communities. So like the big master plan neighborhoods and like Travis Dripping Springs. And I'm focusing for the most part on the higher end ones first, because I want to get the higher dollar clients. But I do have a few that are a little more affordable just because they're only like 10 minutes or so from where I live. I do builder reviews. I do a market update that is geared towards that move up buyer. Beforehand, my market updates were more targeting like if you're going to sell your home, and it was all about the seller side. But I'm like, my audience is more like where am I going to buy? So I'm giving them tips about, what it's like to buy right now in Austin, but also if you have to sell a house, here's kind of the what's happening as well. And that's basically it. So it's neighborhood tours, builder reviews. I might give advice about tips for buying new homes, and then that market update. So I posted consistently and started doing that like every week for months and months and months, probably like 7, 8 months. And I got zero business from it. So it was super frustrating. There were several times where I had like a meltdown with my coach, and I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, I should have, not gone on to long form. I should stick to, short form. And he just kept pushing me like, no, keep going, keep going. And so I finally had a breakthrough on one video that took off. And that was kind of like the aha of the big piece I was missing. Okay. So this one video helped me get so far over a little over $100,000 in GCI. And I have a listing that's going to come up out of it. And then I've picked up several other leads that will probably transact soon. So I'm going to show you, this was a 12-minute video. I just put together a couple little snippets so you can guess why this one took off as opposed to all my others.
My husband and I recently bought a new construction home in Provence, which is a neighborhood close to Bee Cave, Texas. We chose Weston Homes as our builder, and so far we're very happy with our home. But in this video, I'm going to break down some things you should know about Weston and our experience, both good and bad. I did not know that they had a couple of strange requirements that I'd never seen before with other builders. They only accept offers on Monday. And so the sales agent was like, well, it's Tuesday or whatever date. We had just missed the cutoff, which we were not aware of. So we had to wait until Monday the next week. They at one point told us, hey, it's all cleaned up. I was like, great. We went over there and I still see the paint splotches all throughout the house, and I see the grout water, dirty puddle. So now I warn my clients, just so you know, Weston has some different policies. You need to come with a cashier's check or be prepared to.
Okay. So guesses, why did this one video get me a bunch of engagement in business?
You sent out a bunch of information that I wouldn't have known if I were buying there. They only accept offers on Monday or certain days or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, very information and very specific to that one community too.
Yeah, for sure. Any other guesses? Why did this one take off?
Probably because you're an agent and you bought there, so you must know something good about it as well, potentially.
Yep, personal experience. So I always ask clients why they followed, like why they chose to call me. Cause like I said, it's not just me and Jeremy Knight. There's like a couple hundred other agents who are doing it YouTube in Austin. It's very competitive. So I always just ask them, they'll say, I watched a bunch of agents videos, but I decided to call you. And I always ask them, that's great. Like, what made you decide to call me over everyone else? And so the answer that I got from a couple of them that ended up buying Weston Homes is they said, well, we had seen a lot of the stuff that the builder was putting out and like a lot of their advertisements and some other tours of their homes, but we liked that you warned us about stuff that could go wrong. And they said, it was one of them had actually even been to the neighborhood. They had already picked out like they were debating between two houses and were about ready to sign a contract. And they were just like, we were just scared because it like the neighborhood site sounded perfect. The builder like made everything sound perfect, the sales agent. And we just were like, okay, is this too good to be true? So we just searched again and we found your video, and like you warned us about all these things and even things that we didn't know about. And so I realized in that moment, I'm like, okay, I see what I did wrong, because I analyzed this with my coach, and the parts where I was talking more negative had like the highest watch time. And the moment I switched and became positive, so like, well, here's why I still love my home, everyone like dropped off and my viewer count went way down. And so I realized, I'm like, what buyers are wanting, if my avatar is a buyer, what they want is someone to watch out for them, warn them about what's going to go wrong, and kind of like protect them throughout the whole process. And so I realized, like on my previous videos, I was making these neighborhood tours that literally almost sounded like paid ads. I was writing them as if I was doing a listing video. Like you would never say, hey, here's 5 things to love about this house and 3 reasons why you might not like it. Look, it has carpet stains. You would never say that on a listing tour. And so I was doing these perfect sounding like 10 reasons to fall in love with this neighborhood, or here's all the reasons we love this builder. And I wasn't giving any kind of warning or what to watch out for. And so really I was skipping the last 2 questions of when I said here's 3 questions to answer about your ideal client. I was just showing like, what do they want? So it's like, look at this neighborhood, it's beautiful. Look at this one, it's beautiful. Here's this builder, they're great. I wasn't showing them problems and how I solve them. which ultimately gives them no reason to call me, because if they're just going to the websites and they're wanting to double check, am I making a good decision? They can just watch my video and be like, oh yeah, she likes it too. Cool. I'm just going to go to the sales guy and buy the home. But if I'm telling them like, here's things to watch out before you sign any contract with this builder, here's 5 things to be aware of. And I can give general stuff. I'm never gonna like bash a builder and say how they're horrible or whatever. I'm still picking builders and things that I like and want to sell. But I could also talk about like maybe they have higher earnest deposits. They're non-refundable. Like, you know, it could take 8 months to build. Like we don't know what's going to be built around it. Like there's general warnings you could always give. And even for like the neighborhoods, of course, I'm not going to bash a neighborhood, but you know, if you're out in the suburbs, one of the things that's negative could be the commute time, the lack of amenities and like shopping and stuff. Like you're going to have to drive farther. So the more you can kind of do like the pros and the cons, or here's 5 reasons to love this, 3 reasons why some of our clients don't want to live here. It gives more honest feedback and people trust you more. And I would say that's probably the number one thing I've now picked up. And this just started happening, which is why I'm excited about it. Like I said, I still have like a baby channel, but we've picked up right now like 13 clients that, and like just this month alone, we picked up 5 new ones. And they're in that higher range, like 800 to million, 1.1 price range. But that's the overall feedback, is like you're giving us warnings about what to watch out for.
My husband
And again, it's comes down to value, not vanity. I still have a baby channel, and so like you do not have to be up there with thousands of subscribers. I really just this year started growing my channel because I stopped running ads and I started being consistent. But it's now the fact that I am like going deeper onto just sticking into that niche of the new construction in the suburbs, that I'm finally starting to get enough content where people are searching it and finding it. And I would say that's my last piece of advice is, let me stop sharing. Hold on, let me get off of this page, exit. Can y'all still see my screen? I might have to share my website. I'm gonna go to my website real quick. So are y'all seeing this now? Okay. So here's the cool thing. If I just search Dripping Springs, or let's see, what I search for, new construction homes in Dripping Springs. All right, you're gonna get a bunch of different stuff here on this page. But if you go to videos, there I am. I'm not the top one, I'm like number 3 here, but I'm also right here. I'm here. I'm here, I'm here, and I'm here. So I appeared like 6 times on, and here I am again, and then 7, 8. So I'm appearing like a ton of times. I'm there again. So there's a whole bunch of agents in there, but a lot of them only have 1 video. So my other big piece of advice is, if you were like, I'm going to make 50 videos this year, don't pick out 50 neighborhoods and make 1 video about 50 different neighborhoods. Like pick out maybe 10 neighborhoods that you absolutely love and would love to dominate in, and make like 5, 6 videos about that one neighborhood. So some ideas would be like, once I've gotten, you know, something like Headwaters or Sweetwater, I can say, here's Sweetwater versus Headwaters. Here's this neighborhood versus that neighborhood. I could do a general, the top 5 neighborhoods to pick in this area. The pros of living in this neighborhood, the cons of living in this neighborhood, you know, future plans of whatever it is. So when people search, like one of mine is, let me see, Provence. This is the neighborhood I live in. So I just searched Provence. It's a new area, but I'm number 1, number 2. There's Jeremy Knight, number 4. I love Jeremy. We're friends, but I'm just like, I outrank Jeremy. That's like a huge thing. I'm number 5 here. And then a lot of this stuff in here is builder stuff, which is going to be like, the builders are always going to say they're amazing. Here I am again, Sweetwater versus Provence. So just go more like deeper instead of spreading yourself too thin. Like just the more someone can search, you'll be the obvious expert, because you didn't just make 1 video a year ago, but it's like they can see, okay, you're constantly talking about this neighborhood. And then posting, like I have a VA who helps me edit these, but he will take these and chop them into a couple of little smaller segments and then put them out as YouTube shorts. So those also help show up on the feed and where you can rank. So yeah, since we've been doing that, I mean, it's just exciting because I see this now kind of becoming my biggest lead source more so than Instagram. And I'm just excited that I didn't give up on it and just kind of stuck with it over the last year or so. But it was that storytelling and showing value that I would say that really made the difference on it. Okay, Carmen asked, what is the title on this video? It was just review of Weston Homes. It wasn't specific to Provence or anything, but it was just like review of Weston Homes. All right, questions so far. I know we kind of covered a lot, but I'm hoping that was helpful. And who else has questions?
Can I ask one real quick, Shannon? So I was just looking at your YouTube channel here really quickly. What would you say like your top 3, or do you have like, you looks like you have talking head videos where you're at your desk and then you've got like tour videos. Is that kind of correct? Like, are you focusing on only like 2 or 3 different types of videos? And then which ones like does the audience watch like the most of it? What are they engaging in the most?
I would say so I do some in this little studio. This is my media room in my new home. So to save money is why I'm doing this, because if I have a videographer that goes out and does the beautiful tours, it costs me money. I'm paying him like 500-600 or so to do a big neighborhood tour. And I'm gonna go broke if I do that all the time. So I'm trying to change it up where I do a couple that I film myself, and I have a VA in the Philippines that just edits those quickly. And he also do like mashups. So if I do like a neighborhood tour of Sweetwater, a neighborhood tour of Rough Hollow, I can tell my VA, hey, I'm going to do a talking head one where I'm doing the pros and cons or comparisons. And then he pulls in B-roll from those other videos that were already shot. So my goal is at least 2 neighborhood tours, like out and about in the field, where I'm showing people like on like boots on the ground, here's what you can find. And then I'm doing the other 2 just with my VA at my desk. My goal is to up that a little bit and try to do 4 where I'm just like talking head at my desk, just to kind of level up a little bit more, and then still do 2. So I would have at least like 1 video each week, and then some weeks with 2 videos. It just, like I said, it just kind of, for right now, it was kind of like the budget issue. If I start doing better on YouTube, I might crank up the schedule of filming out also like out in the field, but it's kind of like the time essence. It's easier for me to just sit here and knock out a bunch of things and just upload it to my VA. So that's why I'm kind of doing some talking head ones. As far as what's popular, I think if you go to my channel and look at popular, like the biggest one I had was like 12 like warnings about the problems with new construction homes in Austin, which again is like people like negative. The buyers love negativity. Like, what are you warning me about? So that one I think had like 1,800 views, which is a lot because I'm not doing ads anymore. The Weston Homes one that I showed where it was like my personal journey is now over 1,000 something. Some of the neighborhood tours are getting 600-700 views, but even my market updates, like I got one where I was like telling the predictions of the 2025 housing market in Austin, and it got like 500 views, which again is not bad for a market update, but you have to be like real specific with your keywords and make sure it's like, is the Austin market crashing? Like, what are people searching for? Are Austin home prices dropping? Or that kind of thing, I think does better than just Austin market update. Like, people aren't searching for that. So kind of focus on what would someone be searching for, kind of think with it in that mindset. So Carmen asked, how do you find keywords? There's a website that's like Answer the Public, where you can come up with like questions. What are people searching for? Tom Ferry sometimes will advertise that. We subscribe to TubeBuddy, And I've heard pros and cons on it. I honestly, I don't get into like that part. My job is just making the video. I don't do anything else with it. So my VA uses TubeBuddy to kind of help optimize it, like with keywords and to tag, key tags. I would say be location specific. And since again, I'm wanting new construction homes in Dripping Springs or Lake Travis, I just go heavily on like Austin housing market, Austin homes, new construction homes, Dripping Springs, Lakeway, Lake Travis. I put all the little market areas that I want and just make sure that those are at least all tagged. And then, Austin Realtor, Austin Real Estate. So I just kind of make sure all those keywords are in there. And then for the titles with TubeBuddy, I think you can also put in a title and ask it to give you better variations and kind of like score which one of these titles is better. So there's a little bit of trial and error there. And like I said, I'm fortunate because I'm not doing it all myself. My VA is doing that for me, but you could definitely look into TubeBuddy and kind of see if it helps. It just takes a little bit of playing with it to kind of figure it out. Any other questions?
No, I appreciate you talking about this, Shannon. My Instagram has never really done anything for me, to be honest. I've had a hard time growing on Instagram, and it's difficult to keep going with it when nothing's really happening with it. And I've transitioned over to YouTube as well, so it's interesting to hear like you focusing more on YouTube and what you're doing. And there's some players in my area too that take up a lot of, eyes, and trying to fight for that has been difficult, but I think it's about putting out content. So I appreciate, you just kind of explaining that to us and kind of letting us know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I would also say like I was intimidated because again, it's not just Jeremy. There's another guy, Sunan Kim, who's like in the top 50 agents in Austin. He has like way more subscribers, I think, even than Jeremy. Raj Sehu he's crushing it with I think like 8,000 subscribers. And he does new construction homes, but like in a north side of town. So I mean, you kind of look at that, and those are just the ones I know of because they're either in Real or Tom Ferry, but there's so many agents, like it's highly competitive here that I was kind of like, oh gosh, who's gonna watch my channel? But you also have to realize like each person's unique, and just even for me, like being female, I like some people, a lot of times it's the wives that are calling. They're like, oh, I watched all your stuff, but I felt more, someone will say I felt comfortable, like you'd be someone I could talk to. So it's also you have a different personality than some of these other people, but it's just explaining stuff in your way, but just how am I helping someone without sounding like every other person? It's what am I giving them that they can't just go Google is how I kind of think about it.
I have a question, Shannon. Do you cross post on your Instagram to send people to your YouTube channel?
Sometimes. Sometimes I might like if I'm touring a listing or something, I might in my story say, here's if you want to see the whole neighborhood tour, drop the word tour. And I might, if they drop that, use ManyChat or something to give them a link to like the listing tour. I use it also in open houses. Like it's really, here's the coolest thing is I kind of like in my neighborhood again, since I've been doing these videos, I'm now seeing like I have an open house in this neighborhood called Sweetwater where I lived like 9 years, and I've made probably 6 or 7 videos that talk about Sweetwater. And I went to a webinar and 3 people came, or it's to an open house, and 3 people came in and they're like, you look really familiar. And I was like, well, maybe you saw me. I had another open house in here. And then they were like, I watched your video. I Googled Sweetwater and like, I just watched your video. And another guy came in, he was an agent, and he's like, I just so you know, like I'm taking my clients out here. I loved your videos. They're super helpful. I don't work this side of town, but he's like, I watched your videos and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I was at a model home and someone else was like, I know you. I just watched your videos. I was like, that's hilarious. But it's like they're searching for it. But I use this at open houses to get people to also subscribe if they don't have an agent. It's like, well, what do you think of the house? What do you think of this? And I'm just like, okay, I have a whole bunch of videos here. And then I'll give them like, can I get your number? And then it's like, I'll text them, but it's a way of getting their contact info to get them to subscribe. I used to do that with like Instagram too, before I started using YouTube at open houses. I'd be like, oh, I have a video about this. Can I get your number? And then like text it to them as kind of a way of starting conversations. As far as getting like followers on Instagram, I would just follow every single client you've, met with, ask all your friends, like anyone you've ever met, just ask them to start following you. Not agents so much, but just like I said, anyone you meet, just try to get a connection there on like why should they follow your channel. And that kind of helped me from the beginning to start growing it more. But I see more value in YouTube just because it lives longer than Instagram. And like some of my, like the funny video I did with Usher, that one I did like a year ago and I reposted it recently, but no one's going to find that video in 3 years. Like, even though I think it's funny, like no one's ever going to see that video again. But on YouTube, my Weston Home video that I posted like 8 months ago, everyone is still following that and it can search and it keeps coming up, forever. So that's why I'm more of a believer now, or just more like, I mean, I love both channels, but I'm more excited as I'm going into YouTube. And as far as like crossing them, I can take Instagrams, like my stuff from Instagram, put it as YouTube Shorts. Sometimes my VA, if it's a good one that I think could work, I'm like, hey, can you break this down and make me like a little 30-second reel? And then I can post it, back from like a neighborhood tour. Just give me like a snippet and then I can post it backwards. So you can definitely, cross them over so you're not, having to recreate everything separately.
Got it.
Okay, Ray, you said this is great. Get any, like, what it was helpful, would you say? I'm not sure if he's still on. All right, what is y'all's biggest takeaway from the discussion today? He's like, I'm in a loud environment.
I think for me, I'm still trying to figure out that, like the first thing you said, who is my ideal client? I know who are the clients I work with, but maybe they're not my ideal client. So just really pondering on, like you said, you want to get 12 luxury listings in 2025. It's like, well, what do I really want? And going after that, because I work with a lot of first time home buyers, some move up buyers for sure. I do work with quite a bit of move up buyers for sure, but I'm not like really having my avatar down. So just kind of pondering more on that, but I really liked the input there.
Yeah, that to me, like I said, was like the best advice I got, because I originally just started off as like an all about me page and with not intending to, come across that way, but I just didn't have any guidance. And I was just like, they tell you, let everyone know you're in real estate. So I was like, okay, I just got to post that I'm in real estate. And then everyone else I saw posting that just sold. So I was like, that's all I'm doing. And, just hearing an outsider's perspective of like, how is it helping me? Like, why would I call you? Was kind of the eye-opening thing. And then thinking about, again, like who is the best client ever, was probably like the biggest thing that and it took me a while to answer that question. It wasn't like I just came up with that avatar right away. I actually had to think about it for a few days, and like that we went through a whole process of, answering all these questions and brainstorming. But once I kind of nailed it down, I was like, well, it just makes sense, that's who I want. Not that I mean, I still will get people asking. What's also funny now is that agents will say, hey, I know you sell more expensive homes, but would you be willing to help a friend that's looking for like a 500,000 or 400,000? I'm like, of course, if it's within a reasonable area that we can drive to and cover, it's like, sure, we'll help them. But I think it's funny now that people ask first, like, are you willing to help this person? And I'm like, okay, they're seeing me as being like a little bit higher end, which was kind of my goal. Not that I want to lose business, but it's like I'd rather focus on the higher ones. All right. If y'all have more questions, I am always very happy to share and like answer questions or whatever. So, okay, Ray just said, identify my ideal client as something he needs to revisit and then creating content for them. He's going to just start changing up videos on Instagram. I am too, just because I kind of felt like I got into a creative funk and I just want to like change stuff up. I'm like, New Year experiment. On my negative video, did I out a specific builder? So yeah, I mean, I was giving a whole review of the builder who built my home. So the title is Review of Weston Homes. And so I didn't, like I said, I would never bash a builder like to be like, you know, demoralizing to them. If there's a couple of builders that I just hate, I'm not going to even do the honor of making a video about them. Like if I have nothing nice to say, I'm not going to do it. But I always, you know, make it mostly positive. Like even though that video had a lot of negativity, I've already sold to clients that same builder because of it. They were just like, oh, thank you for warning me. So it wasn't like they were completely horrible. They have a lot of great things. I still love my home, but I'm always, you know, if there's little things I don't love, you know, whether it's in their process or whatever, I just kind of call it out and people appreciate that. Same thing on neighborhoods. I'm like, I would never bash a neighborhood or a part of town, even though there's parts where I'm like, I don't really want to work there or whatever. I just, you know, let's just focus on the ones I love, but still give them some, you know, pros and cons of it. All right, so if we're not connected, the best way to connect with me is on Instagram. You can follow us at the.mansion.team. And then, like I said, if y'all have further questions, always just, you know, DM me or, you know, shoot me a message. I'm always happy to help and share. And I appreciate you guys for joining in today. All right, see you guys next month. We will have another speaker. I just have not confirmed who yet. This is my first time doing this without a guest speaker. So I'm glad you guys showed up and appreciate it. And I'll see y'all at Elite Retreat for anyone that's going next week. Hope to see you in Orlando.